Welcome to the BTA Podcast. BTA, the voice of business travel.
Hi everybody, it's time for the BTA Pulse, the podcast where Andrew and I sit and chat around everything that's been going on in the BTA and of course in the world of business travel. So Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Clive. How are you on this beautiful, gorgeous, sunny day?
Spring is here. It came for a while. It's drifted away again and it's quite cold where I am today, but a promise of warmer weather coming, which is good. But we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about the changing times.
Real stuff. Real stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Remind me what that is again. Yeah. But yeah, there's been kind of a look back over the last few days at the BTA, and of course around the world, things are not getting any easier geopolitically, and that of course has an impact on our members and our partners with oil prices and travel generally. But before we get on to that, I guess having a little look back, it is conference season too at the moment, not least ourselves. But I was always delighted to join the ITM conference. Our colleagues over at the buyer side, they have their conference down in Brighton, and that was a really good couple of days and great content. Over 600 people attending, always a great turnout, and good to see many buyers I hadn't seen for a while, and our partners and a number of our members. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think we were talking about. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. Actually, we were talking about conference fatigue. Is there such a thing as conference fatigue? I think this period of that May-June time before we all converge on the business travel show in London, there seems to be a lot happening and a lot going on. So I wonder if people do suffer from conference fatigue in our industry.
Yeah, fatigue and general kind of tiredness and networking fatigue and all that kind of stuff. But it's good to compact them. And it's interesting how industries do all kind of join together. And that's part of obviously what members do. But of course, the BTA one, when I look back at my history in Facebook, because I'm of the older generation, I get lots of GTMC conferences come up from the previous past. In fact, just as we're talking, I think we were in Miami a number of years ago, but ours has now shifted to September, of course, or sometimes October. But yeah, you're right. There is a lot because there was that. And you've done a conference. We've had one of our own at least, and we've got some more coming up.
Yeah, we held our joint conference, our second joint conference with Beam this year. So thanks to the team at Beam, the Business Events and Meetings Association, who very kindly supported us on that with a joint collaboration on the agenda, speakers, and ultimately getting people there. So, finance conference, it's kind of, as I said, it doesn't always land at the top of everyone's inbox. But once we start getting into some of the topics we discussed on the day, whether it be e-invoicing, payments, budgets, virtual cards, financial regulation, suddenly it becomes quite an interesting area to focus on, because there's that much change happening, not only regulatory change, but also change with the way things are being reshaped and evolving in terms of, open banking, virtual cards and various other things. So a couple of workshops also on the day and a really good turnout, close on 80 people turned up to sit and discuss all things finance. So a really good showing in the end.
Yeah, no, it is great. And he does underline, and for those, kind of listening about, TMC's book flights and hotels, well, no, finance is a huge part of what we and our members do in providing not only the payment schemes, but the data out the back of it and everything else. And it is fascinating the depth that those subjects that you've just mentioned go to, and how quickly it's evolving around fintech and everything you've mentioned. A bit like AI, there is a big revolution in finance.
Absolutely.
So, members need to be right across it. So it's no surprise that you had a good turnout at that event. There's a lot of good subject matter in there. But, one that I'm sure you've got quite a lot of work come out the back of as well.
Yeah, that's the good thing and the bad thing about our conferences. I think we picked the right subjects. Certainly, we've had some great feedback, and we can share more about that. We will share more about that in our board meeting coming up with our board, so that they're understanding what we're delivering on behalf of our members. But I think the key thing is, what when we hold these conferences. All right, we sit there and we talk and we discuss some of the challenges or opportunities we've got within our sector, but so what is the next question? What happens next? Do we just kind of park it and then go back to it 12 months later? Do we pick a few topics in there and really sort of try and drive them. So we've managed to select a few for the accommodation meetings conference that we had recently, and we're focusing on them with our strategy group, and we'll do the same with the finance, so that people can really feel as though, we're trying to drive change, we're trying to drive improvements, and we're looking at those key things that impact the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm just in the final stages of finalising the content for the aviation conference, and following your lead on that is trying to really have the conversations that are the issues that matter, which are sometimes difficult conversations, and we're putting them in a safe space. And we're talking around content parity and all the impact to TMCs and the customers and airlines' view on it. We're talking about ADMs, a subject that is contentious, but we just want to bring it out there and say, these are our issues. How can we fix it moving forward? To your point, coming out and going, we don't want to talk about it. Going, if you're serious about partnerships moving forward, let's talk about these issues and work out if we can make it better. Maybe we can't, but we should not take the conversation away just because we think it's too hard. So yeah, absolutely. So that's quite a lot going on before we head to the summer recess, I would call it here, where we take a bit of a break from events from that. So have we got anything else other than aviation coming up? Is that the last one? Oh, we've got Planet Plan. Actually, that's a really good one in July. But we'll talk more about that closer to the time, I suspect.
And we've also got people and talent. I think that's
of course
another critical one for us. It's really important that we look at how we're managing our people within the industry, how we're attracting people to our industry, and some of the challenge that we've got. And we've got a great session in the up and coming people and talent one, which is who looks after HR. So we expect our HR teams across all our companies that we deal with, whether it be supplier or TMC, to kind of just go out and deliver and do for the business, but who looks after them? So really insightful conversation. I think that's gonna bring, and hopefully a good discussion around that.
Superb. Yeah, and of course we've got our own team meeting coming up where we're already starting thinking about 2027, right? So that's going to be a good session with the whole team.
Yes, it's been a while since we all got together in person. Where obviously we've seen each other at events and various other things, but just getting that time to kind of chew the fat, look at what's been successful for us, what's not working so well, what we need to start and stop doing. It's those kind of opportunities that are really valuable, and goes back to the concept of what the BTA's messaging has always been about, is travelling for work and on behalf of work is absolutely vital for not only a great economy, but just the culture and the structure of you as a team and as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good when we all get together. I mean, you can't do it as regularly as we should do. So we're going to have sparks of ideas flying around all over the place in that meeting room next week. So, I mean, as we kind of finish on that, it would be remiss of us not to talk about the global situation and here in the UK, what's going on. I mean, clearly, we're seeing some significant impact on oil price remaining and aviation price, and we're kind of talking very closely with our members to get a feel about how much of an impact are they seeing from corporates? Is it beginning to see a dampening down because the first quarter of this year had been very strong for business travel? And these are pretty significant issues that we have to face, and we need to ensure that the business travel or travel for work, as you rightly just said, is raised amongst all of the government speak that's going on. It's not just about people's holidays getting cancelled. This is the economy that needs to be travelling to maintain where we are, and it's at a difficult point as it is, and we're keeping right across that. But equally, we had the King's Speech right here in the UK from our government's King's Speech, and there were a few things that came out of it. Without getting political, it'll be interesting to see if any of that King's Speech happens, given what's going on. But we can only focus on the known knowns, and that was a few bits and pieces that came out around Heathrow, which we followed closely alongside our airlines around the evolution of that. But I think most importantly is this project that you're working very closely on, which is this hotel levy. So maybe just update the listeners on this, because I think this is probably one of the biggest impacts potentially in a negative way to travelling for work that we've seen for some time.
Yeah, it kind of squeezed through unnoticed, I think, by a lot of people on the UK visitor levy. It seems that the government have given the green light for local mayors and councils to impose this levy, but it is a real concern for us. I think, like we've said all along, unlike leisure tourists, I think business travellers, they drive jobs, they drive investment, they They look at the way they grow the economy, and all these costs seem to be adding up. We seem to be adding more and more cost onto somebody travelling for business. And I think certainly the UK, when we look at the UK and we compare it against our European counterparts, they don't have a 20% VAT rate across Europe, yet we do. And we're adding this cost onto that, and we're almost making, as well as other things that we could sit here and discuss about, we're always making the UK kind of one of the most expensive places to do business. And business travel, it's not tourism, and I think the government are really at risk losing sight of this, and I think we really need to get the message across. And we've got a APPG over in Westminster at the beginning of June, where ourselves, the BTA, and a number of other key UK associations will be sitting in front of ministers and trying to put our messages and key data points across to them to help them understand the impact of this, and hopefully, get some agreements in and some monitoring and transparency on this before any real damage is done, I think, to the economy.
Yeah, it's important. It's great you've got a delegation going up and sitting with a number of MPs and ministers to put the case for some kind of review of what the impact is to business travel. I think we kind of all reluctantly accept that this is going to happen because they just build taxes on everywhere and it's not going to go. But what we've got to do is make them realise that it's actually could be counterproductive. So I'm sure we will update our listeners once you've had that meeting on everything that is going on there. Interestingly, I've got an interview with the FT this afternoon around cost of doing business. So they're interested. It is being raised up. And I spoke to the Telegraph this morning around my favourite subject of drop-off charges. So they're raising that as a cost for business as well. So there is quite a bit going on even as we head into summer. But I think the hotel levy, add on VAT, add on APD, add on everything else. It's a mad cost, and we need to keep reminding people. That's our job on behalf of our members to do that. So there we are. We're pretty much at the end of this episode, maybe a little shorter than before, but hopefully informative. And we will be back very soon with our next episode, probably in about a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, I will bid you a hopefully good late May bank holiday where the sun will shine upon us all. And we'll see you soon. And Andrew, over to you to say cheerio.
Cheerio.
Well said. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
See you soon.